I'll be surprised if there's not changes to the starting lineup prior to kickoff. Well, will I be surprised? Well, I don't know. I can't think like a Queenslander. I gave up trying to do that years and years ago. I don't know how Queenslanders think, but me, I can't.
It's an odd-looking pack.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Welcome to a special State of Origin preview of Six Tackles with Gus, presented by Tab. We're live on the ground here in Perth, where it's very sunny and it's very warm. And it looms as one of the most important Origin games that has confronted Queensland for many, many years. The Blues have not won 4 straight State of Origin games since 1996-97. Do they seal the series here in Perth and look to sweep it in Sydney? Or can Queensland make it a decider back at a core? Welcome, Phil Gould.
Matthew Thompson, how you doing?
I'm good. It's nice to see some warmth and sunshine.
Yeah, a little bit different, the weather over here in Perth to what we left in Sydney. But, yeah, always like coming to Perth. Been here a few times over the decades. Lovely, clean city. Very relaxing. Like
it is.
Big country town, I think. They won't like that, will they?
No,
They're a city.
It's a major city of Australia. But no, it is a lovely place to visit. It does take a long time to get here, though.
Yes, well, we got a little taste of what the challenge might be for the Perth Bears in a couple of years' time when they're travelling every second week. I think they're going to have to adjust their draw. They're going to have to work with the NRL pretty closely. I'd imagine it's best for them to probably play 2 or 3 in a row at home and then 2 or 3 in a row in Sydney and get a home base over there rather than travelling across the country as often as they do.
The Warriors don't get such favours, though.
No, they don't. It's only 2 hours. I mean, Townsville's further than New Zealand for a lot of the games that they play. Yeah, I guess travel's just part of it, and you have to work it in. What about the ridiculous scheduling for the poor old Panthers this week?
I just noticed that.
Well, it's not this week, is it? Or yeah, this week, is it? They're
Yeah,
playing
it's
the
this week
Warriors on the
coming.
weekend. How ridiculous! They're playing Wednesday night in Perth, all these Origin players, and they've got them backing up Friday night in New Zealand.
Auckland. Yeah,
How would they ever expect those players to back up and do that?
that's a strange bit of scheduling. That's
Well,
really
it's
odd.
terrible. If I was the Panthers club, I'd been blowing up
In
the
fact, it
lights.
makes it impossible for Penrith, doesn't it?
Well, then they're not going to take their Origin players across there. They're not going to take, someone at the NRL would have said, it doesn't matter, they probably won't play anyway because they haven't played in previous years. Well, in previous years, they were leading the comp.
That's right.
Now they're in a battle for the top 8. I'm sure they would have loved to have had those Origin players available. How do we do that?
I don't know.
How do we do that to our game?
That's shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, shooting the product in the foot, that's what it's doing.
Don't think there'll be any lightning interruptions over here.
No, that was bizarre yesterday, wasn't it?
You don't plan for that stuff, do you?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Did you know what the protocol was?
No, I've got some recollections back in the past where games were delayed a little bit for lightning. In the old days we didn't. We just kept playing. It could have been lightning everywhere. They wouldn't have cared. They just kept going. But, it was a strange game because it was really we never got a second half. We had a long delay between the first half and the second half, a couple of long breaks there. And so it was, it was difficult, but pleased the team got the win. It was an interesting round of rugby league, wasn't it? Only 5 games played on the weekend, but some great results. I mean, the Dragons looked as though they had the Sharks measure at halftime the other night and then capitulated. The Sharks ran home to win. Never saw the Titans beating the Sea Eagles, and particularly by that score. I mean, that was a bizarre performance the other night. Gold Coast beating the Sea Eagles.
Manly got some issues.
Yeah. Roosters had to work really hard to beat the Knights. The Knights led for most of that game, but the Roosters did well to get them in the end. And then
No Fletcher Sharp in that game either.
No, and then a stunning performance by the Dolphins. Absolutely stunning performance. 58-4 against the Cowboys up in North Queensland. 58-4. They're a good side.
You've been on the Dolphins bandwagon for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, well, that was stunning. Absolutely stunning what they did to them, and they did it with ease. It could have been more. It really could have been more. The Dolphins are on the way, baby. They're going to be very hard to beat.
So, to the point of origin, the Blues have been here twice before and won both games by 32 points, yet the scenario is very different because on both of those occasions they lost the series opening game. So it's now up to Queensland to win here to keep it alive. Bit of extra pressure, and wonder how that plays into the mentality of both states.
Well, New South Wales are in the box seat. I mean, winning a game at in Brisbane, winning Origin 1 in Brisbane, it's a big bonus for them. And they did it so convincingly too. They are in Game 3. Whatever happens here in Perth, New South Wales are in Game 3. Game 3 is going to mean something for them. It's either a decider or it's going to be for a whitewash, both of which will be important. For the Maroons, they're not in Game 3 yet. They've got to get there, and they've got to get there by winning this one. They've made some changes to their lineup. They've taken some gambles. I'm not sure that they've addressed the problems that beset them in Game 1. And, right from the start, I think New South Wales will win handsomely, but Origin's a funny beast. They can get out there and get on the wrong leg early. Queensland can get on the right leg. And if New South Wales haven't done their homework, if New South Wales don't improve from Game 1 to Game 2, then they're just inviting disappointment into their life, because we know how Queensland will rally around this one. I wouldn't read too much into Perth form in the past. As you say, Queensland were one up in the series when they came here the last couple of times, and they're renowned for kind of losing Game 2 if they win Game 1. But to get this to a decider, they've got to improve immeasurably out of what we saw in the first game. And I'm not sure they've addressed the problems that they've had. They're going to have to do it mentally rather than personnel-wise. So
I think we've covered the Cherry Evans thing pretty well over the last little while, but I'm curious on your thoughts on the other changes Billy has made. Now, you were talking about, and I think anybody that watched that first game saw that New South Wales completely outmuscled Queensland, and the thinking was they'll go for a forward enforcer. Well, in fact, they've gone for Kurt Capewell, the veteran back rower. They'll start Liero at lock, and they'll bring Carrigan and Nane, who was probably their best player in Game 1, off the bench. What does that all say to you?
Well, it says to me, I highly doubt that's going to be their starting pack. I think there'll be changes before kickoff. They've probably named them that way, I don't know, just to have some thinking music in the background. They've got the personnel that they probably wanted. Kurt Capewell is an experienced performer. He's played centre, he's played back row, he's played in the middle. I guess they've brought his experience into the lineup and his work ethic, and I would imagine that he's going, well, I don't know where he'll defend early because Nanai was sort of over on the right, but I guess he's going to contend with one of the halves in the opposition team, be it whether they thought it was going to be Moses or Cleary. Now it's going to be Luai, of course. That's a big change to the New South Wales side, but yeah, Kurt Capewell coming back to be a starting back rower in such an important game. Have some question marks on that one. He's a good player, been a good player for a long time, but
you probably wouldn't have questioned it if he was there in Game 1, would you?
Well, it would have made more sense. It would have made more sense if he was replacing Ruben Cotter in the back row.
Yeah.
I don't know that playing Ruben Cotter in the back row is where he's best served these days. It just seems like a funny-looking pack for me, given what they've got on the bench and what they've needed out of Game 1, if they were going to address it. I don't understand it at all. I can't understand the Patrick Carrigan coming off the bench. I can't understand Capewell starting in the second row. I can't understand Cotter starting in the second row. And I still say they won't start with Harry Grant. I still think Kurt Mann will start the game at hooker. They have to. I think they lose whatever chance they've got if Harry has to get out there early in the game.
Ruben Cotter might start at hooker.
Could well do. Doesn't matter who does, but I just don't think it should be Harry. If they want to use Harry as a weapon, if Harry's going to be a grain breaker for them and a winner for them, I think he's best coming off the bench. That doesn't mean I'm saying he's a bench player. That doesn't mean I'm saying he can't play 80 minutes. But at this level, they just pump so much defensive work into him early that he just hasn't got the sprint in the legs when they need it most, when he normally comes off the bench and has a big impact. I think they're missing out on a great opportunity to turn him into a weapon. Now, maybe they're hoping to jump out of the blocks, get the jump on New South Wales, get to the front on the scoreboard and then play a spoiling game from there, which is Queensland's way. But I don't think they have addressed, personnel-wise, I don't think they've addressed the issues that beset them in Game 1. Now, you can do a lot of that with attitude. You can do a lot of that around game planning and the strategy, etc. But to do that, that's why I thought they needed Cherry Evans. Won't go back over old ground. It's Dearden's job now, but it's a big ask from him as well. Making Munster the captain is interesting because I think that'll give him even more responsibility about leading the team and taking ownership of their big moments and ownership maybe even of the kicking game. So, yeah, Queensland, they've got a lot of work to do in a short space of time to turn around that Game 1, not just the result on the scoreboard, but the result of of the flow of play, of how dominant it looked in New South Wales. I think if New South Wales can just learn from game one, I think they can really put Queensland to the sword in game two.
So you do think there'll be changes?
I'll be surprised if there's not changes to the starting lineup prior to kickoff. Well, will I be surprised? Well, I don't know. I can't think like a Queenslander. I gave up trying to do that years and years ago. I don't know how Queenslanders think, but me, I can't.
It's an odd-looking pack.
It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me what they're doing there. If there's other strategy available to them. Just in that 17, there were probably, we'll have to see what Billy does. I mean, he's obviously got a plan. He's the coach. He knows them better than anyone else. But from my perspective, I'm not sure that they have addressed the issues from game one. Now, a lot of this is going to come back onto Fatawaker and Tino Fasuamala-Awi, who, as I said prior to game one, are playing with the Gold Coast Titans, where defence has not been the priority there for a number of seasons. It might be getting a little better, but you've got to take that club mentality and that club form into Origin, and they just didn't do it in game one. They weren't seen. Payne Haas and Asaya Yao and Barnett, they were just running roughshod over them through the middle of the field. So they're going to need a lot of possession. They're going to need a lot of luck. Origin can do that. They can get on the good foot early and go from there. But right at the moment, I'm not seeing it in the selections.
The one thing they've got in their favour?
What's that?
Everyone's writing them off.
Well, it's exactly where Queensland wants to be. This is where Queensland love it. And Queensland love being the underdog. They love being written off. And every dumb commentator like you and I and everyone else around that keeps writing them off, they'll be replaying that and writing quotes up on walls. And
would be the first time you've been on a Queensland wall?
Nah, that's right. And probably should invoice them for motivation.
Services rendered.
Yeah.
So the thunderbolt for New South Wales was the injury to Mitchell Moses, which is very untimely for both the Blues but also Parramatta. But that New South Wales do have the luxury of parachuting Jarome Luai back in there. He was among New South Wales' best last series. It was a line ball call. You were saying you thought he probably deserved to keep his spot. Well, he gets his chance in game two.
Yeah, now please take this the right way. I think it makes New South Wales stronger, but that's nothing against Mitchell Moses, simply because of the long-term combination between Cleary and Luai. This is the way I would have gone for game one. Although Moses did an outstanding job. Outstanding job in last year's series, playing on the right, playing halfback in place of Nathan Cleary, and he did a great job in game two. And in fact, what I saw in game one, I thought, well, game two, he'll demand the ball even more because there's some real opportunities on his own side of halfway to be releasing the outside backs there in Latrell down that left-hand side. And, I'm sure that's not lost on Luai either. I'm sure he watched the game as closely as everyone else, and he'll be seeing his opportunities as well. But on sheer combination under pressure, on sheer decision-making under pressure, familiarity is important. Their relationship between the two, Cleary and Luai, the relationship between them and the lock forward, Asaya Yao, the relationship between those three fellas and the fullback, Dylan Edwards, it's got to make them stronger. It's got to make them better under pressure. Not saying that Mitchell Moses couldn't have done it. He probably would have. And it's not a slight on him that I say this, but technically, theoretically, it actually makes them stronger to have that combination at the scrum base, the fullback, the lock, and the two halves. So, New South Wales certainly haven't gone backwards because of the injury.
Max King gets a starting spot. Stefano onto the bench. I think they'll miss Mitch Barnett. I thought he was tremendous. In fact, he's had 2 Origin games. He's been outstanding in both of them. And both of them have been at Suncorp.
Yeah, really strong constitution. He's one of them bony, hard-bodied, hard-working forwards. And, he played really well in game one. He was a big part of that. Very happy for Max King to get a start. He won't let them down. His attention to detail is excellent. His leg speed's great. His defensive, responsibility is really good. I thought he was really good in game one, albeit coming off the bench, and New South Wales had done a lot of good work early. But he will be on the back of Payne Haas and he will be on the back of Asaya Yao. And, if he has to go first before they run, he'll do it. If he gets to come on the back of them, well, he'll do that too, and he'll do it very effectively. So, and they've also got some strength coming from the bench. So New South Wales, steady as she goes. Very little change from the game one. They've actually brought in someone who's even more familiar. And I think, I thought Keon Kalyn was very unlucky not to get that front rower spot off the bench. Stefano's form has been all right for the Storm this year. And I guess the fact that he was in camp for game one swayed the coach and the selectors that, well, at least he'd been around the unit, and that was a bit of familiarity as well. But, he needs to rise to the occasion coming off the bench there. Hudson Young, Spencer Leniu, and Connor Watson. It's a great bench. It's a real good bench. It can, if they're in front, they can come home and ram home the advantage. If they're behind, they can actually come on and change the game. So they can do it both ways. I think the bench can be influential.
Hudson Young actually looked really dangerous in the middle when he came off the bench.
It's a growing trend in the game for edge forwards to be playing in and around the middle, particularly in the middle part of the game. Not so much at the start, but certainly for the rest of the game. That first 20 minutes, sometimes size and bulk matters, and you need that really strong middle forward running those tough runs. But as the game breaks up and evens up, size becomes less important, and that's where these fleet-footed back rowers and the ones that can dance around a little bit come into their own. And he was very effective, particularly when he came onto the field, dancing around the middle of the field there. He's got great leg speed, he runs hard, he bounces off people. He can be a weapon if used that way. But by the same token, he's, if New South Wales are behind, if the game's not going well for them, Connor Watson can come on and affect. Spencer Leniu can certainly come on and change the trend. Hudson Young, whether he plays on the edge in the middle, can do that. And Stefano's the one that's pretty much, what you see is what you get. He's just that big bulk front rower in the middle of the field, size and hit-ups and plenty of work rate and plenty of defence around the middle. So they've got it all covered from the bench. As I say, I can't work out the Queensland bench. I can't work out how they're going to use them for impact unless there are changes to the starting lineup going forward. I honestly think Kurt Mann will start at 9. That's my belief. If it doesn't happen, well, I can't explain that.
Well, if he was intending on starting someone specifically at hooker, you think he'd pick a specialist hooker, don't you?
No, not necessarily. Well, Ben Hunt wasn't a specialist hooker.
Well, no, but someone, Kurt Mann's highly versatile, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he can do the job, but he's not known as a 9.
Well, he played plenty of substitute 9 at Newcastle, doing the same thing, playing lock and 9, I think, when Phoenix Crossland was finding his feet.
That's true.
And it was one of the reasons we bought him at the Bulldogs, was because he had that versatility, but he's morphed into our probably major player playing lock forward at the moment. So he can certainly do that role. I'm not sure if Queensland need a ball-playing lock forward. I guess he's there covering a few positions, but primarily I'd be using him in the hooking role to start the game, if only for 15 or 20 minutes, just to save Harry Grant from a lot of grunt work early, which no doubt New South Wales will do. New South Wales will get the ball, and every time they get the ball, they'll run a play at their hooker, they'll run a play at their halfback, they'll run a play at the hooker, they'll run a play at the 5'8". They'll just keep running their big men at their little men. They'll keep moving their bigger forwards around. If their bigger forwards have got to chase to make tackles, it's only going to wear them out. And that's the strategy, And if it's every second tackle's Harry Grant, well, he can't be a weapon in attack. He just can't be. This is where Dearden's going to come under pressure.
As strange as a pack as it looks, and I agree, when it was announced, I'm thinking this is odd. But the more I look at it, it's a work rate pack.
Yeah.
They're workers.
Yeah. His mentality might be just to try and hold the scoreline close and then trust Munster and Ponga and these fellas to get the win at the back end, which is pretty much a Queensland mindset. And Queensland forward packs have always been picked on work ethic, absolute work ethic. They want people to pressure kickers. They want people to chase kicks. They want people to, work hard around the middle to get back and hit the ball up. Like they're just work rate players. They're not part of the strategy of the team at all. Where I think in Origin you probably need a little bit more than that. I think the New South Wales pack's far more dangerous, far more balanced, and has more strike to it and more versatility to it. And I think there's more impact from the bench as well. I think there are more options off the bench to change the momentum of the game or reinforce the momentum of the game that exists from the fellas on the bench. I can't see New South Wales losing. I just can't. And as much as I respect Queensland and what Origin is and how these games can change, on the surface of it, I can't see a Queensland win.
There's another headline for the dressing room wall.
Well, yeah, but we're okay. We're sitting in a soundproof booth. No one cares what we say. But I'm just saying, I can't see it. I can't see Queensland getting out of that game one. What happened up there? if New South Wales do their homework and if they can improve again on what happened in game 2. And I think with that in mind, Luai is the perfect one to come in and do that as well. I think he can be a real X factor.
Energy and enthusiasm.
Energy and no fear. No fear. You know, like he's got that. He's got this instinct that he wants to attack at all costs. He's also got the left-footed kicking game. So if they're going to pressure, if they think pressuring kickers is a thing, you know, Mitchell Moses' right foot kicker on the left-hand side of the field sometimes doesn't work so well. Cleary doing the bulk of the kicking makes him vulnerable, and Cleary didn't really kick that well in game 1. Now, they're sort of blaming the football a little bit, but he wasn't hitting the ball at all well, either goal kicking or even with his general play kicking. You know, we'll see how that goes in game 2 as well. But he and Luai know when to mix it up. They know when to kick left and right. They know when one's going to be under pressure for the other. They've got each other's back. They've done it so often together. I just think it's going to help because that's one of the things Queensland will be looking to do. Queensland will be looking to put pressure on opposition kickers. Not that the rules allow it too much these days. Give them a bump and they give a penalty.
Their best kick chaser in game 1 was Nano. He chased everything. Yeah. He's on the bench.
Well, he chases the ones he can score off. They're the ones he chases. The short kicking game, they all chase if they think they're a chance of scoring a try.
Good point.
It's the long.
It's like dropping $5 on the road.
Yeah, well, it's the kick chases I'm talking about are the ones where you've had your backs to the wall in defence and you get out there and you're only on about the 30 or the 40 on tackle 5 and your halfback, or it happens on tackle 2 and your halfback thinks now's a good time to kick and doesn't find touch. Well, then you've got to find your kick chase, and not on your own. You've all got to go down together. Kick chase is so important. Meters made from kicks downfield it's such an crucial part of the modern day rugby league game, and particularly in Origin as well. So, you've got plenty of blokes who chase it when they're a chance of scoring a try, but when they chase it, will they chase it when, the pulse is 180 and there's no air in the lungs and the legs are burning and they've been defending a few sets of 6 on their line and suddenly the halfback says, chase this, we're going to get down there and chase it. And if they don't, well, Dylan Edwards runs it back as far as he can kick it. So, he chases the good kicks. They've all got to chase the other kicks.
It was remiss of me not to mention that Kurt Mann's about to become the oldest Queensland debutant since Arthur Beetson in the first Origin.
Yeah, what a story. What an absolutely story. What a great story. And I've told this story. I tried to sign him 12, 13 years ago as a young 5'8" at Panthers at the time. He had the choice, us or the Melbourne Storm. He chose the Melbourne Storm, which was a good pick at the time. We weren't going that well. Melbourne were. Melbourne's always going well. But
he was a bit of a whiz kid back then, wasn't he?
He was. He was a young 5'8" from Queensland. And I think he's from country Queensland, way out the back somewhere. But he's got a good old-fashioned attitude. He's got a hard edge to him. He's been great for the Bulldogs, but we're not talking about the Bulldogs here today. But he's been wonderful for our club, and he's got leadership, and he's just raw bone, old, tough, old set of values, and
he's had a wretched run with injury times.
He won't let anyone down. No, he has, and he's played every position on the field. Very versatile.
He's from Winton.
Winton, yeah. Winton's a long way out in Queensland somewhere. Where's Winton?
I don't know.
You're the Queenslander.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm from Penrith.
Yeah, but you called a lot of footy.
I did, yeah. That's Central West Queensland, 177 kilometres northwest of Longreach. That's right out in the sticks.
That's out there.
They'd all be tough from Winton, wouldn't they?
Well, they have enough for a football team in Winton. Well, he'd probably had to do it all himself. That's where he learned all the positions. Yeah, I remember
right in the middle of Queensland.
And he was very young when I first spoke to him. Very young, but you could see there was a man there. He wasn't a boy. He was already a man. You could just tell. The country kid's a good stock, mate.
So Winton's as close to Alice Springs as it is to Brisbane.
Yeah, well, there you go. You're going to be tough out there.
I'm conscious that the Queensland forwards were monstered in game 1, but I can't help but think it's a big night for Kalyn Ponga. He really hasn't had a great year. And it's been a while since he's influenced an Origin game.
Yeah, well,
I know he hasn't played a lot consistently because of injury, but I feel like it's a big night for him, particularly with Walsh back.
Well, it's a big night for all of them. It's a big night for Tom Dearden. It's a big night for Cameron Munster. I mean, they've got to get things happening. It's a big night for the forwards pack. I mean, Tino and Mo have got to show their class in this game. They've got to get Queensland on the front foot. And I think if they do, How much of Ponga is his own personal form? How much is he a victim of what's happened at Newcastle over the last 12 months and how they've been faring? And and you don't like to be a victim, but I'm sure Kalyn's got the ability. You don't lose your ability. It's just that New South Wales was so great on controlling the ball, so great on kick chase. There was really nothing on offer for him on kick reception. He didn't have time to wind up or position other players. They weren't getting a lot of ball at the New South Wales end of the field, so he never really came into the action. He's now got a new halfback to combine with. Nothing in the way really until Kurt Mann gets on the field of a ball-playing type lock to tap into. It's probably him and Harry Grant and him and Munster, I guess, which New South Wales will be aware of that. I think that's where they'll concentrate there. Or at least where Dylan Edwards will be marshalling the troops. He'll be very wary of where they're bobbing up on the field. Kalyn Ponga in that headgear is not hard to spot. He's out the back waiting for the ball. But a big game for him. It's a big game for all the Queenslanders. But again, that's where Queensland like to be. This is, by the time they've sat in their circle and held hands and sat around the campfire and sung their songs and, patted each other on the head and, forget game one. Now we've got them, we've sucked them in. Everyone's tipping.
We've got them just where we want them, boys.
We've got them just where we want them. Just where we want them. We've seen this movie before. Trust me. We've seen this movie before. And if the scores are close, when we get down to the back end of the game, who's going to prepare for that the best? I mean, if the scores are locked with 10 minutes to go, just put yourself in that scenario for a moment. Who do you think's prepared for that? Who do you think's expected that? New South Wales or Queensland? I mean, if Queensland are going to win this, I think that's probably where the game is going to be. It's going to be close with 10 minutes to go and then they come up with the big play or they're able to defend a 2-point lead or something. Are New South Wales preparing for that? Are New South Wales ready to go down to golden point or go down to field goal territory or, be just behind or just be in front with 10 minutes to go? Mentally, there's a rehearsal there as well. I guess Queensland know that they're probably not going to blow New South Wales away. It's going to have to be close if they win. So they're thinking about the 80-minute effort. I used to say to Origin players, like particularly young fellas coming in or, important games, one of the messages I gave was that it's really easy to get excited and get nervous, and everyone's excited and nervous for the start of the game, and you want that first touch, and you want that first touch to be good, and you kind of lie awake thinking about that first hit up or that first tackle or that first catch of the bomb and all the things you're thinking about. It's a bit like going to golf. What do you think about on the way to golf? You think about that first hit off the first tee, don't you? But it comes and goes so quickly. Your first hit up, your first tackle, your first touch or your first involvement in the game, it comes and goes so quickly. Where most of these are decided by the last thing that you do. A lot of games, the big games, are decided at the back end in the final moments. And so I used to ask them to put themselves in that position. When you're gassed, when you're injured, when the game's on the line, when we're 2 points in front, when we're 2 points behind, think about the last thing you do, your last kick chase, your last tackle, your last support play, your last run, your last fall on a loose ball, your last cover defence. Think about that last play because that could be the one that actually decides it. Not when you're fresh and ready and nervous and excited and feeling good, but at the back end where you feel terrible, where your lungs are burning and your legs are aching and you're probably injured and, you've been out there for a long time and, the game's in the balance. The result's in the balance. There's not long to go. You're 2 points in front or you're 2 points behind. And put yourself in that scenario with your visualisation. Interesting watching Danny Widler interviewed New South Wales fullback the other night, Dylan Edwards, and he said, what's been the development of our game over the years? He said the visualisation, the mental part of the game, the sitting down and rehearsal, the mental rehearsal of the game, putting yourself in those types of scenarios the whole time. And I think all professional sportsmen need to do that. They pretty much all do sort of yoga and breathing and meditation and all those sorts of things. And it's about putting yourself in those positions, putting yourself in those moments visually before the game, and saying, all right, well, I'm there. I'm tired. I'm buggered. The score's in the balance. The referee's, given them a penalty they shouldn't have got, or we've got a player in the sin bin, or it's teeming rain and, we're 2 points. All the scenarios that can be really difficult to handle, put yourself there mentally before the game because then when you get in that moment, you've actually rehearsed your thoughts, you've rehearsed how you're going to feel and you've rehearsed what you're going to be telling yourself. If you don't, then it can get the better of you. And we've seen that happen so often, and it usually happens a few times before you realise I need to rehearse this before I go out and do it.
Mm.
It's like doing goal kicking practice. Put yourself under game pressure. Put yourself under game pressure in your rehearsal and your goal kicking. You know, like I used to do a drill with Ivan Cleary when he was at the Roosters. So he had to kick 20 out of 20 before he could go home. And he said when you got down to 17, 18 and 19, if you missed, you had to go back to 1.
Where was he kicking from?
No, just conversions, just around the post. You know, it's just in around the post. But, you know, it was more a mental thing, you know, like he said when he got down to 17, 18 and 19, knowing that if he missed one, he had to start back at 0 and he's dying to get home to watch Sale of the Century or whatever he wanted to watch on TV.
Great show.
He said that was the pressure. You know, that's game pressure. He could feel it, you know, and I think you've got to do that. Same, you know, they do putting drills in golf. I got all this from golf analysis and the golf books that I used to read and the mental game on golf and try to put footballers in the same scenario. And at Origin, it's just heightened, that's all. It's just a heightened state of awareness and a heightened state of rehearsal and visualisation, and it works. It works.
Fans always ask, Loza, what was the best era of league? And I tell them, nothing beats the line-breaking, flick-passing, goose-stepping, Vegas-flying, turbo-try-scoring, Origin drought-breaking, simply the best era of footy we're in right now. And with more market stats and insights, it's easy to enjoy the best era in footy with the best app in footy.
Tab. We're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
We've got some Ask Us Origin edition questions.
Yep.
Thanks to our friends at Tab. The NRL season is in full swing, and for the best time in sport, Tab has the best app in sport. Tab, we're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Archie Binks, it's around Carrigan, says it's a big call moving him to the bench. What does it say?
Still don't think he'll start there. I think he could well start the game anyway. I just don't know what the thought process is. Whether or not they're just hoping, you know, if Queensland start with the pack that they got, Fatawaka, Grant and Tino up front and
Trent Liero.
Liero at lock. They're just hoping that they get some ball early, get on the front foot. Harry can do something with Ponga and Munster, and they can sneak a couple of quick tries or get to the front in the scoreboard. You know, dominate a little bit of field position, dominate a little bit of possession, get New South Wales a little bit nervous, and then bring on their tacklers, then bring on their high work rate players to come out and, you know, go from there, you know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just don't know why Paddy Carrigan's not starting the game, to be honest, other than the fact that they've probably picked something they think can get to the front. Now, if you're going to do that, well, you'd have Nanai starting because he can get you a try out of a kick chase or a line break or what have you. So,
or they might have picked Corey Horsburgh.
Well, yeah, he was one that I really would have considered. Yeah, I don't know. As I say, I can't see the strategy there. In the way the team's been picked.
Oh, this is a tough one from Michael Edwards. He's asking the hard question. If Queensland loses game 2, what does the future hold for Billy Slater as coach? And what kind of rebuild would the Maroons need to undertake for 2026? They haven't lost yet, but
no,
he's asking what might happen if they do.
Yeah, I don't think Billy's in any danger of losing his job. Yeah. Well, hasn't happened yet. We'll worry about that when we get the result.
It's a hard one to answer now. Dan Finnegan, after their dominant performance in Game 1, what's the biggest danger for the Blues?
The biggest danger, from my perspective, is in your mental preparation for the game or in getting ready for Game 2, you think it's going to be exactly like Game 1. That if you go out and do exactly what you did in Game 1, things will go exactly the way they did. And that's not going to happen. It very rarely happens that way. That whatever you did in Game 1, you've got to understand there's going to be a reaction from the opposition. And they've already reacted, both in the naming of their team and the dropping of their captain and the sparking of results. So if we go out with exactly the same game plan we had for Game 1, it won't be good enough because Queensland will be ready for it. These are the best of the best. These are, this is not a club game and where you go out and play the same way every week and you get the same results. But Origin, there will be a bounce back from Queensland. what New South Wales needs to learn is not so much what happened in game one, but what could have happened. What other things were there that they didn't explore? And I saw some real opportunities for New South Wales that if they choose to go that way, I think can really pull Queensland's pants down. And I'm not sure that Queensland will be ready for it. Certainly not ready for it for the way they've picked their team. So I just think that, if New South Wales can advance, they'll be too strong. But if they don't, my greatest fear for New South Wales is it's not complacency, but it's to think that this will just be a continuation of what happened in game one. That game two will start exactly the same way. Remembering they've got a few 6 agains, they've got a couple of penalties, and they've got a couple of turnovers. All right, cut the turnovers out. Queensland's not going to drop the ball this time. Cut the penalties out because that's not going to happen. All right. Now, can we go set for set, grind, set for set, grind, set for set, grind, and still be 0-0 after 20 minutes? Who's winning at 0-0? It's 0-0 after 20 minutes. Who's winning? Who's ready for that part of the game? And as I said to you, who's ready for the part of the game at the last 10 minutes when the scores are level? Well, Queensland's got their nose in front, or you've only got your nose in front there, or we get down to field goal territory, because that might be a part of the game that New South Wales haven't mentally prepared for. And I'm sure as professionals they will have, but that's always the danger, that you just expect it's a continuation of the previous game, and it never is.
All right. We've got Ampol on board now with 6 Tackles with Gus. They sponsor State of Origin, and they're sponsoring this award-winning podcast too. The Ampol Power Surge this week. Our good friends at Ampol, Gus, they want to know the top 3 players to have a game-changing moment on Wednesday night.
The top 3 players to have a game-changing moment?
If you're going to throw 3 in there that could have a game-changing moment, who would you choose?
Well, the other night someone asked me about the top 3, who I think the top 3 players will be. And
I think that was me.
Was it you?
Oh, that might have been
that was our
on the show
podcast last week, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went Payne Haas, Asai Yeo and Nathan Cleary. But if you're looking for game-changing moments, a game-changing moments could be a Xavier Coates, a leap and catch, which I think is one of the ways that they can score.
What about a hammer tackle break and a sprint?
Yeah, well, that's going to have to come from an offload somewhere. Someone's going to have to put him away. A Munster can come up with a game-changing moment. A Harry Grant can come up with a game-changing moment.
Latrell Mitchell.
Nanai off the bench, Latrell Mitchell. There's plenty of, that's the beauty of Origin. You've got plenty of fellas that can win it for you. There are plenty of fellas out there that, and also not just can win it for you, have the confidence to do it. They want the ball in their hands in those big moments. And that's, those fellas that I've said. But the game-breaking, the game-changing moment.
I'll tell you a game-changing moment. Was it a couple of years ago? It might have been a couple of years ago. Remember Murray Talangi made in about 2 or 3 games in a row? He made these incredible try-saving tackles in the corner, saving tries.
Yep.
They're game-changing moments in Origin.
Same
desperation.
Absolutely. Getting a charge down, forcing a kicker to kick out on the full. Falling on a loose ball. It's game-changing moments. A fellow that's not renowned for an offload, getting a pass away. That's where the Origin moments are made. Someone getting up when they're hurt to make a try-saving tackle. It could be anyone. A chase. Someone taking an intercept. There are lots of ways that the game-changing moments can have.
A sin bid.
Just
winding you up.
Mr. Referee can have a game-changing moment.
Mate, Ashley Klein puts his whistle away in Origin.
Yeah, he didn't
early.
Good. He didn't early in game one. There was plenty of little 6 agains and penalties in game one.
But they still generally let it go a bit in Origin. They don't referee the same.
Yeah, well, they should do
Which
that
is good.
for every game.
Well, I don't disagree. Anyway, forget the referee. You haven't got 3? You're just going to leave your answer at that.
What's that?
Your top 3 game-changing players.
Game-changing players? Well, New South Wales full of them. Latrell Mitchell can be a game-changing player.
We'll put him in for one, yes.
Xavier Coates.
One of his miracle catches.
Jarome Luai.
Ooh.
He was the game-changing moment in Game 3 last year when
Absolutely
it was very, very tight. He was the one that came up the line break and got Bradman Best away. But there are plenty of them. Munster can do it. Grant can do it. Tino can do it. Valentine Holmes can do it. Hamaso can do it. Stephen Crichton can do it. There's plenty of game breakers there.
Whether you're cheering on from the sidelines or the living room, Ampol has got your back on and off the field. Proud to partner with Australia's own Sporting Nation. Great to have Ampol part of the podcast. Right, Gus, your prediction, your final thoughts. You think New South Wales will win? What's the score going to be?
I see 4 or 5 tries for New South Wales and maybe 1 or 2 for Queensland.
Mm.
So, 5 tries to 2 wouldn't surprise me.
So 30 to 10-ish.
Yeah, so if New South Wales score 1 less 4 and Queensland score 1 more 3, well, that'll be about as close as I get at things. But I can feel 4 or 5 tries for New South Wales. I can't get to 3 tries for Queensland. I just don't see it. But things can happen. Could be sin bins, could be send-offs, could be magic moments, could be Munster, could be Xavier. They've got the people to do it.
It's a bit of rain around here this week too. I don't know if that's a factor.
In the short time we've been here, any of the grassed areas here are actually all pretty muddy. It's all pretty heavy. So they've had some good rain here. And I think there's going to be rain on Wednesday as well. So that could change things. You never know. It's Origin, mate. Anything can happen. True. Anything can happen.
Remember the first game here when it absolutely threw it down and Turbo scored 3?
Yeah. Anything can happen. They're all great players. They can all come up with a magic moment. It's just keeping yourself in the contest. Queensland couldn't keep themselves in the contest in game 1. They just couldn't get enough possession at the other end of the field. New South Wales were too controlled. The forwards rumbled away and the kickers were good. The chasers were good. They were disciplined. They didn't give away penalties. But they've got to do that and more to win game 2. We know Queensland will react. A lot of pressure on the halfback. Debutant. To step up into Daly Cherry Evans' shoes and run this team and be responsible for that. Big pressure on him.
Who's your player of the match?
If New South Wales win, usual suspects, Haas, Sayo, Cleary, Dylan Edwards. They're the players that will decide it for them. If Queensland going to win, I think that Ponga or Munster are going to have big nights. But I think New South Wales win.
The market on tab, Queensland $2.75. New South Wales $1.45. They wouldn't have started that shorter price in a long, long time.
No, it says if we played the game 3 times, they'd win twice. Just depends which one's tonight, on Wednesday night, doesn't it?
All right, you'll see all the magic of Origin 2 exclusively live and free here from Perth Optus Stadium, the venue. It's a fabulous venue. I was only talking last week. You feel like there's 80,000 in here, but there's only 60,000 tops, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been here a few times, and I keep forgetting what it looks like. But as we drove past it today, coming to here, it reminded me a little bit of the Las Vegas Stadium, Allegiant Stadium over there in Las Vegas from the outside. It was just a glimpse there. I went, gee whiz, it's very, very similar to over there. But
it's a magnificent stadium.
It's brilliant. Yeah, no, it's great. Absolutely wonderful. Lovely city, Perth.
We're on air at Big Country Town. We're on air at 7 p.m. You can catch it all on 9, and I'll see you out there, Gus. Good to see you in the Wild West.